I don't suppose that anyone likes to be compelled to do things. Not really. And I know I don't. Everybody watching this video does not like to be told you must A, B, C, D, do this. And folks in medieval times, although there were a number of things that had forced compulsion in medieval times, folks in medieval times didn't be compelled any more than you or I do. And it was part of society, maybe even more so than in our society. But part of society that people had individual initiative and the right to associate or not associate, the right to simply walk away. There would be nowadays you're a citizen of a kingdom, you're a citizen of a country, you're a citizen of a nation, what have you. And you can do away with your citizenship. It's not so easily done, though, and it has some really grave consequences. In those days, you literally could just walk away. So as a result, the idea of not being compelled is a very major part of the medieval world. Yes, there were compulsions, particularly if you were a serf. But still, the ideal, what people wished to be, everyone wanted to be free. And so as a result, Magna Carta, again, they didn't sit down and write a constitution. They didn't sit there and think, we'll do this and for all, into all eternity, this will be the standard. This is a conservative revolution where they're saying, where they're talking about, where they're writing down what they think it has been the standard. So look at this. No constable or other royal official shall take corn or other movable goods. Now, corn in those days would be wheat, oats, rye, from any man without immediate payment, unless the seller voluntarily offers postponement of this. Let's say the king's at war in France and he needs food for his army. The king's officials can't show up and just say, give us your corn, give us your wheat, give your rye, your oats, whatever, give it to us. We're going to pay you down the road. No. The idea of freedom was so strong here that government IOUs were not accepted, unless, of course, you wanted to accept them. And I suppose very few people did. So you had to come, the king's administration had to come up with money up front. Even in dire circumstances, they still had to pay. At least that was the ideal. And that was what was expected. No sheriff, royal official, or other person shall take horses or carts for transport from any free man without his consent. So even if the king is at war in France, and the king needs horses, and the king needs carts, you don't have to give it to him. The average peasant, the average, small local knight did not have to hand over their work animals and their travel animals. They had an absolute right not to. And again, this limits kings, because a king better have his ducks in a row and be ready to have enough horses and have enough carts and all that before he goes to war. One of the problems Richard had, one of the reasons why Richard ruled as a tyrant, is because if you're at war all the time, you can't have enough horses. You can't have enough carts. And so you're just going to take them from people. Well, now, Magna Carta, people wrote Magna Carta saying, can't do that. That violates our basic common understandings of what it means to be English. So neither we nor any royal official will take wood for our castle or for any other purpose without the consent of the owner. Now, nowadays, we do not have a wood economy. But back in those days, you didn't have much coal. You surely didn't have electric power. Wood was one of the most valuable things you could have. You heated your home with it. You cooked your food with it. You built bridges with it. You built your house with it because that's all you had. And nowadays, people have wooden houses and it's nice and all that stuff. It wasn't nice back then. It was necessary. And so as a result, the king is told, you can't have our wood, period. Unless, of course, we agree to it. And I'm sure the king would have to buy it, just like everybody else. I don't know where he got his Christmas trees, but you just have to go buy that. I have this picture of William the Conqueror shopping for a Christmas tree. I'll leave that go to one side for a second here, but you get the picture. This is a very valuable item, and the people writing Magna Carta are saying these things belong to us and not to you. There's a whole series of battles over wood before this one, not really important enough for us to go into, but wood is really power. It's really something which people have to have. And to take it away from them without their consent is just simply a terrible thing to do. And how about your spare time? No town or person shall be forced to build bridges over rivers. Now, some towns have ancient obligations. They'd agreed to many hundreds of years ago to maintain a bridge over a particular stream or river. But now they're saying, look, you can't. The king on his own cannot just turn to a town and say, we need a bridge over that river there, build it. Can't do it. If you're a free person, the government can't tell you to go and labor to produce a bridge. Now remember, I've said several times that this is a world without bridges, more or less. And so building bridges is very important. And you know what? If you're going to take time away from your house and your fields and your fences, because the king told you, the king dictated to you that you're going to go build a bridge, then you are to a greater or lesser degree a slave. And slavery is not common in this world. Serfdom is, but not slavery. And there's a big difference between them. So this is an interesting one. No constable may compel a knight to pay money for castle guard. So if you're a knight, you get certain duties, one of which happens to be to guard castles, usually the local castle, not always. The king could move you around, but you had you had an obligation to guard castles as part of your duty. Oh, you could get out of that obligation by paying a certain amount of money to the king or to the constable or to whoever was in charge and saying, get somebody else. And that was generally what happened. Most people who had castle guard duty paid to get out of it. But if you didn't want to pay and you were going to go guard the castle or a castle, then guess what? Then the constable or bailiff or sheriff or king, didn't get any money. So they were in the business of compelling people to pay money and not go to the castle. We'd rather have your money because we can get somebody inexpensive, like rent a castle guard. And we can get somebody inexpensive. So therefore, just give us your money. Oh, by the way, you have to give us your money because you're not going to be guarding the castle. And the second sentence here, or the second clause here, or with reasonable excuse to supply some other fit man to do it. So you were expected to be in shape. And of course, and if you were in shape, they expected you to either guard the castle or pay money not to do so. But they were also saying, yeah, give us, come on, no, you're not guarding that castle. You may be healthy, you may be fit. Give us the money. And for Richard and John in particular, both of whom had a bankrupt kingdom, getting money was really, really, really important. And they used all kinds of means to do so, and this was one of them. And so saying, and essentially, the barons, the clergy who wrote this said, that's not kosher. That's not right. You shouldn't be able to do that. You shouldn't be able to force people to hand over money when they're willing to actually go out and do their duty. Think about that. You want to do your duty? No. Give us some bucks. There's something immoral and ethical about that. And so people were upset when things like this occurred. And so what we have here is a fine, old-fashioned respect for the individual rights of people to have their money used the way they want to use it, to have their time, their wood, their corn, what have you, to use as they wanted to use it. And, things like this support something, but sometimes we forget how things are linked together. Something like this supports freedom of the press. How does, not having to go out and build a bridge or being paid for your corn or what have you, support freedom of the press? Well, if you don't have money, if you don't have spare time, if you don't have, if you can't sell your resources, then, you don't have time to work on a press unless the king gives it to you. You don't have money to run a press unless the king or general authority give it to you. Now, we're a couple hundred years away from having a press at this point, but, the principle is there. You have freedoms if you have your own resources and your own time. If you have to go to the central government, think Stalin. If you have to go to Stalin and ask him to give you, the money for press, to run a press or something like that, then you're going to have to do what Stalin tells you to do. But if you have your own money, if you have your own time, then you can say what you want to say. And that's private property, as is well recognized in Magna Carta and other places, is the basis of freedom. And I know that may not be the most popular thing that's happened to be true. Just think it through. If you have to go to the government and ask for money to do something, you're no longer free, because the government can then say, well, if you're taking that money from us, here's the rules, or we won't give you that money. So these things are important. I want everybody out there to stay healthy, stay well, stay safe. And we'll talk to you in the next video. Everybody take care. Bye-bye.